Hey there, Westerosi. We have returned for another episode of Mike Meeple's Painting Poorly Miniature Painting Tutorials for A Song of Ice and Fire the Miniatures game by CMON Games. Today, we're taking a look at how to paint up Renly Baratheon's heavy infantry, the Rose Knights. A box of these bad boys comes with 12 minis in 5 different poses and gives us the chance to show off the more colorful side of Westeros. But the intricate gold filigree around the armor can make the detailing of the Rose Knights difficult, so make sure you get a good small brush when you get to that step. I'm going to prime the models with an undercoat of black. And once that's dry, I'm going to use the Army Painter's Plate Mail Metal Spray Primer to apply a zenithal highlight to the models from a 45-degree angle and directly above. This results in an effect that not only paints most of the armor at once, but that also creates a strong contrast between the highlighted and shaded areas of the armor. Of course, if you don't want to zenithal prime the models, you can always just prime in white, black, or plate mail and paint the model like normal. But the shading of the armor won't be quite as dynamic, as displayed by the difference between these two models. The left was zenithal primed with plate mail metal, and the right was primed with just plate mail metal. Remember, always thin your paints with equal parts water unless I tell you otherwise. We're going to start off with light green by Vallejo and use that to paint the tabards of the models. You'll also use this color to paint the flag of the standard bearer. The models also have 2 streamers coming from the top of their helmets. One will be green and one will be tan. And this is a great way to add a variation between duplicate models by alternating which streamer is which color on each model. Next, take some dark sand by Vallejo and paint the legs of the pants, some of their sleeves, their scarves, and whichever helmet streamer you didn't paint green. This is a very light color, so I do recommend applying 2 coats so you end up with an even application of the paint. After that, we'll use metallic green by Vallejo's Mecha Color Series to paint the shields, making sure to avoid the star in the middle, but painting the areas between the filigree around the trim. Then, take some white and paint out the flower in the middle of the flag. This is just to give a bright undercoat for painting the flower yellow later on, once it's dry, using Demonic Yellow by the Army Painter. Next, take some Mahogany Brown by Vallejo and paint the leather scabbard, satchels, and belts along with the handles of the swords and shields. After that, grab some Retributor armor by Citadel and get ready for all of the gold detail work, of which there is a lot of, so we're going to go slowly. Start with the shield and paint the star in the center and the border around the outside of the shield, making sure that you get all the detail of the filigree. When painting these small details, sometimes using the edges of the brush instead of the tip can give you a little extra control. Next, take some time to paint the hilts and pommels of the swords. Then, move on to the scabbard and paint the metal portion at the bottom, the gold flower in the center, and the 2 rings of gold at the top. For the helmet, start with the tree-like design on the visor before painting the 2 curls directly beneath the eyeline. After that, there's some filigree on either side of the helmet where the ears would normally be, along with a few curls at the bottom of the helmet. Moving on to the knees and feet, there are small wings on either side of the knees, along with some filigree on the knees themselves and the top of the foot. Finish off by painting the buckles on all the satchels and belts, along with the pauldrons and elbow pads of the models that have the flower insignia and filigree on them. For the standard bearer, use the Retributor armor to paint the decorative border around the flag before painting the entire pole that color as well. Next, take some Sky Gray by Vallejo and paint the rock that one of the models stands on before doing any final touch-ups. Once it's all dry, it's time for shades. We'll start with Light Tone by the Army Painter and use that to shade the gold portions of the shield. Flower insignia, and gold portions of the flag and flagpole. And all of the tan portions of the model. When that's dry, take Green Tone by the Army Painter and shade the green portions of the shield and flag and the tabard and head streamers that were painted green. The last shade we'll be using will be Nuln Oil by Citadel. Apply this to all of the remaining armor, the swords, and the back of the shields, along with the scabbards, belts, and satchels. When that's all dry, it's time for highlights and finishing touches. The first thing we'll be highlighting will be the tabard and streamers using your light green. Highlight all the folds in the cloth and anywhere the fabric billows outward. After that, mix together equal parts of light green and yellow green by Vallejo and paint a slightly smaller section of everything you've just highlighted to add a second level of highlights. Now, we are actually going to add a third level of highlights by using pure yellow-green. You'll want to use this color sparingly, usually just on the very center of the folds or the edges of the cloth, but since it does have some translucency to the paint, you can actually develop the highlight into a gradient effect by using multiple coats, building up to the intensity that you want. This is especially helpful for the models whose tabards are billowing outward behind them or to the side. After that, we'll highlight all the tan portions using our dark sand. These highlights are done with the same idea as the green highlights, by starting with the basic dark sand and slowly working up to lighter colors by mixing together equal parts dark sand and ivory by Vallejo, before finishing off with a small amount of just ivory on a few select areas. Now we'll be using bright gold by the Army Painter to add an edge highlight to a few select areas of the gold portions, such as the top and front of the shields, the hilt and pommel of the swords, the gold portions of the scabbard, and the filigree on the forehead and around the eyes, just to draw focus to the face. We'll also do this to the flagpole of the standard bearer. Next, we'll take some silver by Vallejo and highlight the armor. Now, you don't have to apply this silver highlight, but I feel it really helps the Rose Knights pop on the battlefield and helps distinguish what makes their armor so much different from some of the other units in Westeros. After that, use some Flat Earth by Vallejo to add an edge highlight to the satchels, scabbards, and belts. Before using some Cork Brown by Vallejo to add another highlight to really make the leather pop. Before you finish up, take some time to mix together equal parts demonic yellow and white to highlight the flower insignia on the flag. We'll finish off the highlighting portion by using our sky gray to highlight the rock that some of the models are standing on. Before adding some texture, grass, and rocks like I've shown in previous tutorials. If you're looking for some more specific directions on how to do all of that, please make sure to check those videos out. Well, thanks for checking out my tutorial on the Baratheon Rose Knights. I want to give a big shout out to all of my patrons whose generous support helped me make quality content like this. And if you're interested in becoming a patron yourself, information on how to do so can be found in the description for this video, along with links to all of the supplies I used today, and a link to my blog where you'll find more tutorials for games like A Song of Ice and Fire, the miniatures game. And if you like this video and would like to see more, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, Westerosi.